Hi, everybody. Welcome back. The stories that I have for this week's episode are all about friendship. The ones that start off sweet and supportive, then turn into something you definitely didn't see coming. And with friends like that, who needs enemies? I'm super excited to jump into the stories today. So, without further ado, I am your host, Jane Reddock, and this is One Cold Take.
Nothing to me. You mean nothing to me. Nothing to me. You mean nothing to me. Nothing to me. You mean nothing to me. Nothing to me. You mean nothing to me.
Okay, no time for chit chat. We're gonna jump straight into the stories today. And the very first post that I have is coming from the best of Reddit updates. It does have a little bit of a trigger warning, guys, for medical issues and betrayal. Am I the asshole for wanting to divorce my husband and leave him with the kid after finding out I'm not biologically the mum? The very first post was on the 5th of August 2024, so we get an update a year later, which is crazy. So super excited for the update, but for the original post. I can't believe my life has come to this. All I ever do is go out of my way to help others, but on the few occasions I needed help, nobody ever comes through for me. I, 36 female, have been with my husband, 35 male, for a total of almost 10 years, married for 7. We had what I thought was my child by surrogate over 2 years ago, because after 4 years of trying to conceive with no success despite medical intervention, it turned out I'm unable to carry a child to term. I've always wanted to be a mum, so devastated is an understatement regarding how I felt when I found out I have a medical condition that would make it nearly impossible to carry a baby to term. It was even more upsetting when I had to get a major surgery to remove uterine growth with the hope to increase fertility, but complications during surgery warranted a partial hysterectomy involving removal of my uterus only. I still had my ovaries though, so we started looking into the cost of a surrogate. It was really expensive. Thankfully, my close friend since college, who'd already had 2 kids of her own, offered to serve as a surrogate for us to cut down on cost. After 2 disappointing IVF sessions that did not result in pregnancy, she became pregnant on the third try and carried a baby boy to term for us. I was so happy and busy after the birth, between being a mum and returning to work after a 4 week parental leave, so I didn't notice any of the warning signs. I should have noticed the red flags and warning signs earlier on, but I didn't because I was so exhausted from working so much at my stressful job and 2 part-time jobs to cover most of the bills and anticipated medical and legal costs associated with the friend becoming our surrogate. I was the primary breadwinner. My friend and husband started talking more, and I would sometimes come home from my weekend job to find her already hanging out at our house when my husband was there. I chalked it up as innocuous, and it's good for her to know my husband better since she was the one in process of hopefully carrying our child for us. I was grateful to have someone helping us. I also thought it was weird that our son had brown eyes when both of us have blue. Then I found out, while it is uncommon, it's possible sometimes due to many genes controlling eye color. Recently, it all came to a head when I took our son to a doctor's appointment and they did a metabolic panel and blood tests which showed that he had a blood type that is not biologically possible to have with me as his mother. He's B plus, I'm A plus, husband is O plus. Immediately I started worrying. It was the fertility clinic's fault and that they'd messed up and implanted a wrong embryo. I had started lining up lawyer consultations to possibly sue the clinic and looked into having a DNA percentage test done. The test results showed that I'm not the mother, but my husband is still the father. I was heartbroken and angrier than ever. I spoke to a lawyer about medical malpractice in the fertility clinic we'd used. Then my husband confessed that he'd slept with my friend on a few different occasions during our struggles to have her get pregnant with our embryo. This means what I thought was our son conceived by IVF and carried with a surrogate isn't my son at all and was in fact conceived the old fashioned way, which I can't ever do. Livid and absolutely heartbroken at the same time doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. I've been breaking down into crying spells over and over again. He claims he didn't think pregnancy could result because he pulled out and he had always assumed that he was the reason for our earlier struggles to conceive, both before my hysterectomy and during the IVF insemination process with the friend. I feel an immediate triple betrayal from what was supposed to be my husband, my friend, and now knowing my child isn't even really mine. I had such white hot rage and delirium. I immediately left home and stayed at a hotel for almost a week before asking my parents to let me stay at home for a while. I admit I left our son with him. I am now filing for divorce because he cheated and betrayed me in the worst possible way. I've also cut off my friendship with my friend, the surrogate, and I feel afraid to trust anyone else now. I have seen a divorce lawyer to see about giving up my legal right to this kid so that I don't have to face such betrayal or owe child support. My husband and friend slash surrogate admit they were wrong and kept apologizing, but also called me immature and heartless to give up on my son like that. My parents also say I can't just give up on a kid that I went through so many legal and medical hoops to have. When I told them I refused to stay in a cheater marriage and I'd rather adopt someday with a better, more trustworthy partner, they also told me I was wrong and that maintaining the parental right isn't much different than if I adopted outright. They said it isn't blood that makes a family. They are all about me divorcing my cheater husband, but kept telling me I'm making a mistake by giving up my parental rights. Some of my other friends agree with what I'm doing. A few admitted they weren't big enough to swallow their pride and carry an affair baby, or to see a daily reminder of my friend slash surrogate's betrayal every time they look at her son. I just want a clean break and a fresh start. I'm also looking at relocating several states away. So, Reddit, am I the asshole to give up my parental rights in the divorce because a kid I paid a lot of money to have born by surrogacy isn't biologically mine at all, but the surrogates? Whew, throw the whole family away. Throw the whole family away. What a great, wonderful, rare opportunity you have to start a brand new life without any of the shitbag people that put you in this situation. I don't have much to say on this post. I'm not a mum, so I, I can't fathom what she's going through. But the comments definitely do go off. The very first comment says, "No, you're not the asshole. You suffered a terrible betrayal. Only you can say what's best for you." Personally, I wouldn't be able to look at the child without being hit with the betrayal again and again. Your parents and friends don't have to actually deal with the situation, so they don't get a vote. Your soon to be ex is a real piece of work. You're immature. I would want to throw up if I was in the same room with him. Exactly, me too. Please get some therapy to work through this. Therapy, oh, I think she needs a hell of a lot more than therapy. Maybe one of those rage rooms and then therapy. Opie does respond to that comment and she says he feels like biologically maternity shouldn't matter that much when it means I'm finally fulfilling my dream of becoming a mum. He says that if I adopt someday, I'm still going to have to raise a child that is not biologically mine. He reminded me about what a depressive wreck I was during the infertility, the aftermath of my partial hysterectomy, and how I put him through the ringer because I was obsessed with wanting a child. Okay, this guy's an absolute piece of shit. Fuck me. Actually, this is blessing in disguise because she actually got to see who he really is. And continues and she says, he claims that I pushed him away with my baby obsession and he couldn't deal with me anymore, and that's why he started, oh my goodness, strain the way that he did. He also says that I can't just turn my back on my child when I legally signed all paperwork, which is similar to an adoption. I'm so over this guy. There's a lot of comments that OP responds to. There is one that really has some good questions. It says, not the asshole. One of the things that gets me is that you were working extra jobs to pay for the surrogacy, which I'm assuming included her medical bills and financially supporting her. I would speak to a solicitor about suing her for your money back. She knew that if she was having sex, then there was always a chance that the child was biologically hers. Obida's responded, she says most of the cost was for the egg retrieval. She doesn't have a husband. She had two kids with a long term boyfriend, but they split 5 years ago. Okay, so I think that's about it for the comments. There are quite a few comments, so go have a read on this post. It doesn't really say anything extra, it's just quite interesting to see different perspectives on the post. Okay, and now for the update, which comes on Jan 4th, 2025. I'm low on time right now, but we'll be posting a separate update post later. I have no legal rights anymore because she fought to get her son back. I'm actually a lot more upset about losing this child than I presented in my original post, and I'm realizing more and more with each passing day the choice wasn't mine, and I lost. I posted that I wouldn't be suckered into raising someone else's kid as more of a coping mechanism than anything else. She got to have her kid. He left me, and I'm stuck with nothing. And that is the update. I'll keep an eye on this post and see if OP updates with hopefully something a bit more positive. There are a few comments, and she does respond to one. She says, and yes, this is exactly what I've been going through all these months. I have little to no rights. I'm stuck coping with major loss. My best chances at still being this boy's guardian is to stay with an awful scrub of a guy and share 50-50 custody with the friend and be the chump who still pays for most of the bills for the unmotivated SOB in the meantime while he continues to cheat. It also came out that she wasn't his only affair. He's been cheating all along for most of the time we've been trying without success to get pregnant. Oh, okay. So there are no other comments from OP or updates, but like I said, I'll keep my eye on this one and maybe we'll put it as a little bonus in one of the other episodes. There is a comment that I want to end off on, and it says, when a male cat starts praying, you generally get their balls surgically removed. Just saying. I think that kind of sums up this post. All right, moving along. And staying on the best of Reddit updates, this one's quite crazy because I remember reading the original post back in 2021, and about, I think it was 4 days ago, I saw the update on best of Reddit updates, and I had to put this one in the podcast for you guys. It's quite crazy. It's quite long, so I suppose that makes up for last week's episode of it being really, really short. So now you get some bonus content. Okay, and this one has some trigger warnings as well for manipulation and gaslighting. I have stopped the podcast a few times today because I have horrible heartburn. So if anybody out there has any home remedies for heartburn, please drop me a DM or on the subreddit OneColdTake or leave it in the comments, please, so that I can do this all in one take. The original post was posted on the 19th of October 2021. I, 25 female, have my own two-bedroom apartment that used to belong to my uncle. I made a friend during my uni years I'll call Mary, 27 female. Mary had quite a hard home life, too long to detail here. I let her know that if she ever needed my help, she could always rely on me no matter what. When we graduated, I asked her to move in with me rent free. She tried to pay, but I knew she had a lot of debt trying to pay for uni, so I told her no and to spend her money freeing herself from it. She was so thankful for this, and I loved having her live with me. We never fought about anything. Both of us have the same cleaning habits and TV interests, so there's never any arguments over the remote or who's got to take out the trash, etc. Tonight, we were out at a super fancy restaurant in London as Mary had finally paid off the last of her debt, secured herself an amazing promotion at her job, and also finally passed her driver's test. All these achievements in the same month were more than deserving of an award. So we splashed out. It was me, Mary, four of her work friends, and two friends we've known since uni. It was a great night until I handed Mary a card saying how amazing she is and how lucky I am to have her as my best friend, with quite a bit of cash inside to put towards her first car. She started crying and thanked me, and we hugged for a really long time. When she pulled away, I told her I was so proud of her for kicking life in the butt, becoming successful, and showing her dad that his dickhead ways couldn't keep her down. After how she'd struggled through uni, pushing pennies together and working shit jobs, seeing her in her dream career and being such an accomplished woman is absolutely inspiring to me. She looked mad and said, "Please don't do that. You know I don't like it when you do that." She's never said anything like this to me, ever. So I had no idea where this was coming from. I apologized and said that I didn't realize saying these things would upset her, as it's never been an issue or my intent before. She just coughed and rolled her eyes, and when I looked up at her colleagues, they were all shaking their heads at me, glaring. I felt so awkward. I wanted to shrink back into my own skin, and I was mortified that I hurt Mary. Mary didn't talk to me for the rest of the night and ignored me at the table. When we split up to head home, none of her colleagues even looked at me as they left. I said sorry to Mary as she was heading to her room, but she shrugged me off, told me she was tired, and we'll speak in the morning. I'm so anxious that she'll want to move out or never talk to me again. I kept going over every interaction in my head to see if I crossed a line in the past, but she never gave any indication that I upset her by saying these things before. All her colleagues messaged me saying I was an asshole, saying those things to her and belittling her. I never even meant any of these things, and I don't understand what's happening. There is a same day mini update. I didn't know how to update anything as I've never posted before, so when things happened, I wrote them down in a notepad to update later. But all this stuff happened in the space of one day. I'm posting them all below because I didn't get the chance to write them down after everything happened, as my post didn't have enough of judgment yet. I saw a lot of mixed reactions to my post, but there were also some great advice on how to approach Mary, so thank you for that. I'm afraid all that well meaning advice turned out to be for nothing, so I'm sorry for that. Things are time stamped roughly to show how the day unfolded. 6:30 a.m. I'm even more confused than ever right now. After staying up all night being constantly on the verge of tears, I finally heard my roommate moving around in the kitchen, so I went down to speak to her. She acted totally normal and started talking about some drama at work while I stood there, kind of unsure of what was happening or what to do. So I apologized again. She looked up at me in confusion and said, "Why are you sorry?" I reminded her of last night and how mad she was. She then laughed and said, "It doesn't matter, don't worry about it," and then continued making breakfast. I asked if I'd overstepped or crossed the line, if the money was too much, and if I made her feel inferior, and she said, "Nope, we're cool. It doesn't matter. I think everyone just misunderstood the situation, and you're taking things to heart a little too much." I'm even more confused than ever. I told her about her friends texting me, telling me that what I said was belittling and that I was an asshole, and she just shrugged it off, said they probably misunderstood things and that she'd talk to them. But I'm just so winded. I'm so tired because I haven't slept, because I thought she hated me, that I'd hurt her, that she'd never speak to me again. But she's fine, like completely normal, and just chatting with me as if last night never happened. But I'm so confused. After seeing so many, yes, you are the asshole comments, I thought I'd really crossed a line this time. But she's not phased at all. She seemed so upset, ignored me for the rest of the night, and her coworkers treated me like a criminal. But everything's okay, I guess. I don't know anymore. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep, but things still seem unresolved to me. I'm going to speak to her about it when she comes home because her reaction still really bothers me. Update 2, 10 a.m. I got a call from one of the uni friends who was at the dinner last night, and we had a chat. She asked me if everything was okay between Mary and I, as she said she'd never seen Mary snap at me like that until last night. I filled her in on everything that we talked about and how confused I was as well. She's reaffirmed many of my feelings about things being very out of character for Mary, as she had also congratulated Mary and said similar things, as well as given her a bit of money in a card, along with an expensive gift, as did many of the others. After talking to my friend, I've decided that I need to have a long sit down with Mary to clear things up, and it's not only me who's confused by her behavior. Both the uni friends are coming around later to have a chat, since now we're honestly quite concerned about her. Her friends have not let up on their text to me, so I don't think she's spoken to them. One text said, I couldn't try and sweep this under the carpet, which is like, what? I'm thinking of blocking all of them as they won't leave me alone. Update 3, 4 p.m. This is not an update I expected to make, not in a million years. Shit hit the fan and went sideways in ways I never could imagine. I'm confused, heartbroken, and really pissed off. So, long story short, it's all a fucking lie. One Redditor said to me that my friends might have said something to Mary's work colleagues about me that made them not like me. I spoke to both of them when they came around in the afternoon, and they both denied any of that. The one I had spoken to earlier on the phone, we'll call Claire, said that she'd call one of the work colleagues that she knows slightly well in order to clear things up. Let's call her Jane. Jane turned up at the flat and instantly looked pissed. I almost wanted to hide behind the kitchen counter when she came in, glaring daggers at me. We all sat down and I let Jane know that I'd spoken to Mary about last night and that she was fine, but I was still confused. Jane then laughed and said, Oh, don't try that shit with me. You can't just pretend now that you've been exposed publicly. The three of us looked at her without saying a word as we were all confused. Claire asked her what she meant, and Jane said that she knew how I really treated Mary. We both asked her to elaborate, and she stood up and went on a tirade about how I apparently regularly abuse and belittle Mary, then intimidate her into saying nothing and put a smile on for others. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry at this point. She then showed me texts with her and Mary where Mary wrote to her in distress about being locked in a room because I was having a meltdown about her making friends at work, something that never happened. Claire and my other friend took the phone and looked through the messages as well, and I had to stop reading them as they all said stuff about how Mary was afraid of me and how I trapped her and was extorting rent out of her. It all just leaves me numb and dead inside. Eventually, Claire got to a point where Mary said I'd cancelled her 21st birthday at uni and told her she wasn't allowed to go out. The thing is, Claire and my other friend were at Mary's 21st birthday, which I'd put over £500 towards having a themed Great Gatsby night she'd always wanted, which in the messages she was claiming never happened. We went over a lot of stuff in the messages and realized that Mary had been spreading lies about me to all of her colleagues about how I was abusive and she couldn't move out because I was charging her so much of rent money. This absolutely shattered me. Mary was like a sister to me throughout our uni years, and I can't fathom why she'd say any of these things. It took a long time, but after Claire and my friend went over all the accusations with Jane, I pulled up my banking details to show that Mary never makes a single payment to me except for her half of the bills. She seemed to cool down and settled into the same confusion we all were feeling. She let us know that Mary told all of her colleagues the story and that the reason they were mad at me is because Mary said I like to use a manipulation tactic where I pretend to support her through everything but use her past against her whenever we're in private. They all thought that's what I was doing last night, that everything I said was meant as a backhanded compliment. I can't even put into words the hurt and betrayal I feel. That she'd spread these lies about me. For what reason? What benefit? I could never lift a finger to hurt her. But she tells everyone at work that I isolate her from the world. Claire had to calm me down as I couldn't stop crying no matter what I did for ages. It was quite embarrassing, but I couldn't do anything else. Now I'm a little bit more level headed, still mad, but not crying anymore. I don't ever want to look at Mary again. My friends have told me not to make any hasty decisions, but even Claire said she was disgusted by the things Mary was saying about me in the text, when everyone knows them not to be true. I know that I probably won't be able to clear my name with her colleagues, but I don't really care about that. I just want to know why Mary said those things about me. Jane went quiet by the end of our discussion and left without saying much, so I don't know what that means for me in her eyes. My two friends are staying with me for the rest of the day until Mary comes home. We've all got a lot of questions for her to answer. Final update 10:15 p.m. I've booted Mary out of the flat. She threw away years of friendship for sympathy points with her colleagues, and I still cannot understand why. When Mary got home and saw the three of us watching television, she got excited and said, I'll make popcorn. But Claire took the lead and told her to sit down. She looked confused but complied. Claire led everything. I didn't really know what to say to Mary at all and could barely make eye contact with her. Claire told her that Jane had been around and shouted at me for being an abuser and a bully, and asked her why'd she say those things. Mary acted confused and said that it must all just be a miscommunication, that Jane just twists things sometimes and she must have misunderstood stuff that Mary had said. Then Claire asked her about the text messages and started mentioning each event that Mary had cried to Jane about me being an awful person. Jane went quiet and then tried to say it was a work joke. But Claire wasn't having any of it. She pushed harder about all of this, and eventually Mary broke. She started crying and telling us that she never meant any of it, that it was a stupid thing and it shouldn't matter, that she loved me with everything she had, and it was just a stupid story that went too far. She started begging me for forgiveness, but I was just so tired and still am. I looked her in the eye for the first time and told her she had a week to find a place and move out. Then she started really bawling her eyes out and begging me to let her stay, that she didn't think it would matter because I don't work with them. But I told her I wasn't having that kind of bullshit in my life. I said, so do you just make up lies about everyone in your life? Is any of it real? She went quiet, really quiet, dead silent at that point. I didn't want to believe it, but the way she was looking at me and the lies she'd made up about me, abusing her, had me questioning everything she'd ever told me. When we were at uni together, about her dad beating her mum, about her being homeless from 16 until they divorced. I then told her to get her mum on the phone, and she panicked and begged me not to. Claire then realized where I was going with this and asked her if everything we'd ever been told about her dad had been true, and she cracked and said she may have embellished a few things. I'm so fucking fuming at this point. Who the fuck makes up this kind of twisted shit? For what benefit? I can't write everything that was said, as it resulted into a screaming match between all four of us as we learned that Mary's tragic life story had been nothing but a concoction to gain sympathy from others. Her parents are divorced, but there was no abuse involved. They just fell out of love and split. I had to learn this by calling her mother myself later on to get clarity. I'd never said a word to her mum about anything in the past because Mary had warned me against it. She said I could always be open with her about everything as she wasn't ashamed, but her mother was sensitive and didn't want to speak about it. So it turns out my best friend is a master manipulator and probably always will be. I'm so tired and exhausted from everything, this whole nightmare. This will be my last update as I'm done. I came here seeking help and advice to find a way to mend a mistake I'd made with a trusted friend, but it turns out the last 7 years have been built on a lie. I'm fucking done with Mary. Everything. I don't want to see her again. I know she can afford her own place, so I don't feel bad about kicking her out. I don't care what she does now. I just know that I don't want her around anymore. I think I'm going to book myself a few therapy sessions after all of this shit. It's not a happy update, but it's the only conclusion I've got. Thank you to everyone for all the advice you've given me over the many updates. I appreciate it all. I wish that I could send OP a big hug right now because that story just broke my heart. I can't fathom what it must feel like to have someone that you consider family, that you really love and you care for, in such a deep way to betray you in such a confusing way because it doesn't make any sense. And the crazy thing is that the dynamic of any relationship changes so drastically when you live together. There's more love, there's more care, more protectiveness, more safety. It just becomes a home for two people, and you get to know each other on a completely different level that a normal best friend or two best friends don't have if they don't live together. And OP had that relationship, so the betrayal is that much more diabolical and very, very confusing. I'm just so confused as to why someone would do that. Why would you make up lie after lie after lie? And the only conclusion that I can come to as a sane person, well, semi-sane, is that there is a lot of mental trauma or mental illness that comes along with Mary. Maybe a disorder of some sort, multiple persons. Maybe she created a different life. I'm not quite sure how my brain can justify it, what my brain's trying to, but I just can't seem to get a a logical explanation to someone doing something like that, especially for someone that did so much for her. I mean, one, rent free, that alone, you'd have me doing so much for you. That's absolutely crazy. She threw everything away, and I feel like this would have been such a great friendship had it been without the twists and turns and lies and betrayal. I just scrolled further down. I thought that was the last of that post. But I see that there is an additional final update 18 days later. Oh goodness, okay. So normally you guys know that I read the post beforehand. I don't know how I missed this, but we will go on this final update journey together. I never thought I'd write anything else to add to this post, but holy shit did it blow up overnight. I never expected the amazing response I got, nor the wonderful people in my messages sharing their stories and wishing me the best. It honestly brought me to tears to just see the flood of understanding and empathy appear out of nowhere. Thank you to everyone who took the time to message me or comment. I can now give you guys a little conclusion to how everything fully resolved. I didn't touch Reddit since my last update because I needed a lot of time to process what had happened, and having the place to myself was strange to adjust to at first, but as it turns out, was very necessary to begin the healing process. Mary moved out the following Saturday of the incident. She spent the following days after the blow up moping around the flat and wanting to talk to me, but I refused and told her I needed space. Her mum came on the weekend to help her pack her things as Mary was going to be moving back in with her. Her mum cleared up a lot of the questions I'd had on my mind. I'd always been told by Mary that her dad had been abusive, but her mum had loved him so much she wouldn't leave him. So she left home and was homeless when she was 14, sleeping under benches in train stations just so that she didn't have to be in the house with him. She only moved back in with her mum when she finally got the guts to divorce her dad. The story I had believed for 7 years turned out to be completely fake. Not only was Mary never homeless, but her father was never abusive and loved both her and her mum very much. The reason I never saw him around was because he'd moved to Australia to pursue his career, which was the real reason for the divorce. He loved his family but wanted success even more, so he left. Her mum told me that Mary's dad was always inviting her over for summer holidays, but Mary never went because she hates flying. The day she moved out, I stayed in my room and just hid away, but she knocked on the door before she left, and I answered. I still wanted to say goodbye. She had been my closest friend for so long that it didn't feel right just letting her fade out of my life without a send off. She asked me if I wanted the money I gave her for her new car back, but I said no and told her to use it instead for therapy. She cried a lot and tried to hug me, but I kept her at a distance. I let her know this would be the final time we ever see or speak to each other again. I just couldn't be around her anymore with the knowledge of what she had done. She left sobbing, and when she was gone, my little town flat suddenly felt bigger than it ever had before. It's been hard adjusting being alone in this place. For the first week she was gone, I still expected to see her in the kitchen every morning or on the sofa when I got home. It was unsettling to say the least. I had my first therapy appointment last week, and I think it actually went well. I haven't been to therapy since I was in school, so I was very nervous to begin with, but my therapist is a very lovely lady who helped me understand that Mary's lies were her own making and had nothing to do with me. A lot of people said she was probably a compulsive liar, maybe even a narcissist, and she seemed to agree loosely with that idea from what she's heard. In yet another revelation, I met with Jane for coffee as she asked me to meet up and clear up some details. She told me she'd been wondering about Mary and why she would make me the target of her abuse story and started asking people in the office about the things Mary had said about me in the past. The one that stood out to me was a painter. They worked in art, restoration, and distribution. He used his art as a means of channeling his traumatic history with his abusive mother. Apparently, Mary had taken quite a liking to him and so had first told him about her abuse as a way to get closer to him. She mentioned fancying him at some point, but I didn't think she'd go to such lengths to create a connection between them. He was furious when he found out the truth and now doesn't speak to her anymore. Jane told me not many people do now. They were all scared that she'd make up stuff about them and get them in trouble at work. So they're keeping her at arm's length as a result. I felt bad when I heard this, as I know that Mary's having a miserable time with our friend group kicking her out as well. Jane apologized to me, but I told her she had nothing to be sorry about, that this was all Mary, and she was only trying to protect what she thought was an abused friend. We left each other on good terms, but we don't have much in common, so I doubt that we'll be friends. Clay came to stay with me for a bit, which helped with the loneliness a little. It's hard to be alone after having someone practically attached to your hip for so long. And thank you to you guys as well, who left such kind messages in the comments, many of which were very helpful. I'm so thankful to all of you. Your words of advice and comfort have given me. It's made a shitty situation so much better to know that there are people out there who've been through the same thing and offer words of encouragement to lost things like me. Thank you, everybody. Oh, honey, you are not a lost thing, not a lost thing at all, but you are a very kind, wonderful, beautiful, caring person. And I am so proud of you for the way you handled that situation, and it will get better. I want to jump straight into the comments. The first comment that I have is she's a professional victim. She gets fussed over. She doesn't have a responsibility because someone will do it for her. She gets doted on. People are proud of her for what she's achieved. She has so many people cheering for her. It's addictive. Having someone fuss over you in that way can be like heroin, so they need more of it. You need to concoct a lifelong trauma that ebbs and flows in line with their emotional needs that day. They build new audience appropriate traumas for the new people they meet to build the connections and get attention. They suck the life and goodwill out of everyone around them. Oh, goodness, so spot on. There are a lot of comments, guys. Again, I think I will try and pin both of these stories in the comments, or I don't know how. I am a new podcaster, so I don't know how to do things. But, or I'll just post it on the OneColdTake subreddit. So if you guys want to go and have a read and look at the comments, it's quite interesting. Um, OP is, man, she's a saint. She's brave, so fucking strong. Mary is definitely a troubled person, and I hope that she gets some help. The thing with these kinds of relationships, it does make you stronger on OP's side, and I hope that it does teach Mary a lesson. I don't think she'll ever change. I think that she'll now use this story as her new traumatic story for the next place that she goes. I'm glad that the people at work have finally kind of seen who she is and taken a step back. It must feel horrible for Mary to kind of have everybody cut off and her lie is exposed. But fuck, man, people that lie, I have no sympathy for you. It's the mental illness part that I do feel sorry for because that lie is concocted in her brain. And maybe she is a narcissist. Maybe she does have whatever disorders, or at least I hope she gets diagnosed with them because there's no ways I can't make myself believe that a sane person would do any of this bullshit. So I really don't have any empathy for liars. And I really, really hope that Mary is diagnosed with something because otherwise I'm going to lose my faith in humanity if there are people out there walking around lying about this crazy kind of bullshit. I'm so baffled that somebody has the guts to do this. I mean, flip, I think majority of us will lie about something really small, whether it be I ate the last cookie or I bought a new bag on Amazon. And you feel the life kind of drain from your body when you know that you're going to get caught. And I think that is a normal response from a normal human being going, oh fuck, I'm going to get caught, and you feel shitty. But to weave a web of lies like this, oh, crazy. But yeah, man, I hope that she gets some help. And OP, I have no doubt that because of what has happened, you're going to be such a strong person. You're going to see the red flags before they even happen. I'm happy that it came to light now because I mean, it's 7 years, it's still a very long time. definitely going to be hard. It's going to be like a breakup for sure. Your heart's going to be breaking, but eventually you'll move on. And the reason I say that I'm happy is because 7 years is better than 10 or 20, depending on how long the friendship would have gone. And who knows how this could have turned out if the truth didn't come out. So I suppose all's well that ends well. And that would be the last story that I have for you guys today. I hope that those that are listening, if you are faced with anything similar to what OP has gone through, or if you have any friends that are a red flag, I hope that you find comfort in Reddit. I found comfort, and it's crazy, but Reddit is really, it's a great platform. I've said it before, it's such a great platform for advice, not always comfort, because man, do the comments come for you. So not really comfort, but definitely clarity, great advice. And the comments touch on some things that the normal person won't even think of. And sometimes Reddit can be wild with their comments, but it definitely does open doors to different aspects of problems you might be facing that you didn't even know, was there. So thank you, Reddit. Thank you for my podcast. For next week's episode, please drop some ideas, some comments. I'd love to know what you guys are going through. Post it on the subreddit OneColdTake, and hopefully I'll feature your story on next week's episode. And I hope that you guys pop in some themes that you're thinking of. What are some of the craziest stories that you've read, or what have you experienced in your life that you want me to feature? And maybe you want to have a petty revenge story that you want to copy paste and send to the person you got revenge on. I don't know. Like I said, it's a new podcast. I'm trying out a lot of different things. It's going to be trial and error. Thank you guys for sending me emails. It is onecoldtake@gmail.com. So thank you guys. I have gotten some of the feedback and constructive criticism, which I have taken in, and I hope that you can hear it on the podcast. So thank you for that. But keep it coming. I'm new, I'm learning, and I'm definitely growing. Hopefully, with all of you by my side, all 12 of you. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. There's still so much more to come. I was thinking of maybe changing things up a bit. I haven't gone visual yet. I'm going to be posting on YouTube. I think it was, I'm so sorry, I cannot remember your name, but I'm going to call you Jane Doe. Jane Doe, I did receive your email. I'm going to try and post this on YouTube. Like I said, very new, very green, not very tech savvy, but I'll definitely be posting it on YouTube for you guys to listen to. Many more episodes to come. I'm not going anywhere, and I have some really great ideas that I'm gonna start putting into action, and it's gonna become very interactive very soon. For now, just finding my feet, enjoying the little bit of quiet that I have before I go out into the world and get the stories myself. Again, thank you all for joining me. I'm very, very grateful. And even though it's just a little podcast for now, and I'm just one person reading Reddit stories, I hope that it gives you a little part of your day where it's just calm, where you could either laugh at my silliness or relate to the stories, or just find a little bit of noise cancelling stories to do your commute, whatever it is. I hope that the podcast brings you a little bit of joy and you continue listening and growing with me. I hope that I catch you on the next one. Be kind, be safe, take care. Bye, guys.
Nothing to me. You mean nothing